Do you desire?
Yeah.
What do you desire? Wait, where is this going? I'm talking about direction. Do you desire to go in a specific direction?
Yeah.
Not so much in a vehicle, automobile, but in life, in your art, in general.
Yeah.
And do you perhaps feel that you have no say in that direction, that the path was perhaps chosen for you before you got onto it, and now you are stuck on that path like a bowling ball in the bumper bowling alley of your life?
And you know how much I love bumper bowling.
If you want to score the perfect life game, here are your guardrails. There you are, just bumping side to side on the way to the goal with no way to get out of that path.
Desires.
Sure, you're going to knock the pins down, but where's the fun in that?
That's no fun.
Are we all feeling a little manipulated these days? And I'm not even talking about the algorithm. Does it feel like we are unable to direct our own fate and that someone has their little pushy around finger pushing us around? Are we unable to choose our own path in life?
Why don't I get to choose?
Well, funny you should ask yourself that, Janeen, because that very subject, sort of adjacently, was the topic of a thing that I wrote, which you no doubt read, called Go Your Own Way. That'll get flagged. Are the Fleetwood Mac song detectors more aggressive than the Eagles? That'll get flagged. People, listeners, watchers, humans of Earth. And, you know, if you're watching from other planets, that's exciting.
Greetings, Earth morsels!
Congratulations, you have just stepped right into the poop hole of my algorithm. Algorithms sort of are like the digital version of bumper bowling, right? Guiding you in a way that makes you go this way. Have you ever heard of desire paths, sometimes called desire lines? No, not those kind of lines. And now I shall direct you along a path as I discuss desire paths as a lens by which to examine the themes that I wrote about in the thing you didn't read, but it's not essential. But if you want to, it's somewhere down there. Step 1.
Desire.
Actually, is that step 1? Going straight to desire? I mean, that's what gets us in trouble. Desire. We see something we like and we are off to the races.
Bring me my horse!
Actually, no. Let me step off that path. Let's get to the exposition path. Step 1 of how I turned the inspiration of desire paths into a metaphor about life and being able to step on and off paths as you meander through it doesn't start with desire. It starts with architects. Huzzah!
I'm an architect.
And urban planners, I guess. Are they the same thing? Architects are the unsung heroes of our world. I mean, just look at all the movies made about them. There's that one with Steve Martin and Goldie Hawn,
Shall we gather by the river because that's where they're going to find your body?
where he builds the house for his girlfriend. She don't want him. Wasn't Tom Hanks an architect in Sleepless in Seattle?
Architect.
They're the only two I can think of. You know what? I'm getting caught in the weeds here, which, funnily enough, is how desire paths often start. In the weeds, someone stepping off of a concreted path onto the lawn or weedy area to cut across something. That's the first step of getting a desire path started. Trampling. What are you talking about? Stay on the path. I'm talking about desire paths. I thought we established that. Oh, but we're stepping off the path. Desire paths are very much about how people operate within a space.
What the? Who designed this place?
Not operate, I'm not talking about doctors. Stay on the path. I'm talking about public and private spaces, I guess, and how those spaces are designed to incorporate the movement of people within them, and how those people often don't use those spaces in the way that they were intended.
Maybe it's a shortcut.
And that's where desire paths come in. You ever see something like this? This is visible evidence of people doing whatever the fuck they want. Some nice and thoughtful architect or urban planner
I'm the architect.
designed for you and your human companions a wonderful space, a building perhaps, or a bike path by which you could commute to your place of employment, a way for you to get from A to B in a way that was both aesthetically pleasing and practical. Something that matched the general vibe of the space and the vision of the person that designed it.
I'm an architect.
And you snotty little humanoid skin tube, you're like,
This is a terrible design.
nah, not me. I'm gonna cut through here, go my own way. That'll get flagged. One person does it, then another person does it. And over time, a new path is established. That's a desire path, one that expresses the wishes of the people.
Shortcut!
To cut across, buck authority. Yes, I said buck, but the other word would also apply. There is a whole Reddit thread dedicated to photography of desire paths. Link below. But here's where it gets cool. The best architects and urban planners amongst us, they use their up here for thinking space and think, being aware of how unfathomable people are.
People as individuals are completely unpredictable.
And how they will...
You can go your own way.
That'll get flagged. The best...
He's an architect. City planner.
Some of them, they sit back. They wait to see what the skin tubes will do.
I'm an urban planner.
For example, a handful, a gaggle, what would you call a collection of universities? A collage of colleges? Sorry. Anyway, knowing that students, the most erratic of meanderers in open spaces, that are quite keen on bucking authority, yes, I said buck, will, wander around in the way that they do.
I'm actually a traveling performer.
In the quadrangle or courtyard or great lawn, I don't know what you would call that at a university. Or it depends on the university, I guess. Between their Psych 101 class and their Law Dogging for Dummies class.
I'm a lawyer.
Across the other side of campus, they will meander their way in the most efficient way possible, or least efficient. This is a picture of the Ohio State Universities. Great Lawn Quadrangle, whatever we're calling it. The creators of which held off making the footpaths across the lawn until students had shown them where they needed to go. Exhibit A, before they put the paths down, and Exhibit B afterwards. You get the point. Is that enough setup? Should we step off the path now?
Step out! Step out! Step out!
From inspiration to execution. How can desire paths be a metaphor? Sometimes life can feel like you are committed to a specific path, a direction, like an expectation that you will go a very specific way to get to your goal in life. If you have a goal. You don't have to have a goal, but you get my point.
Stay on the path and do not touch anything.
But is there any obligation to stay on that path? Are you following the path out of a sense of duty? Does it make sense to follow paths that other people lay down for you? And that is what I wrote about, based on these 4 thoughts. Everything is written, nothing is written. Everything is said, nothing is said. Ooh, this is hard. Everything is heard, nothing is heard. Everything is final, nothing is final. I shall now elaborate on those 4 themes. Are you ready? 1. Everything is written, nothing is written. Now, when you're writing, there are a couple of different paths that I could be talking about in this case. There's the path that successful writers tell you is the way to go, routines to follow, the steps you have to take, all that sort of stuff. But this particular desire path that I'm talking about is not about career advice. It's literally about the structure of writing. All the technical rules of writing, the punctuation, the styles, the things that people use as the guide rails by which to shape their stories. I'm using the word guide because that will become important later on. You need to learn those rules.
This is the way.
Learn the path. Because knowing all those rules, knowing the path to good writing and where that leads, is what makes you a more capable and skillful writer.
Stay on the path.
But you don't have to stay on that path.
I thought you said I was supposed to stay on the path.
How you use language and style is determined by that path, but it's not necessary to be completely constricted to that path. Think of the authors you love that do wild stuff with the form. They follow their own desire lines to create their oeuvre.
We've stepped off the path.
Of course, I'm going to bring up C-Mac Daddy, R.I.P., Cormac McCarthy, because I love him. He, famously, did not use quotation marks or a lot of punctuation in general. And he is regarded as one of the great American novelists. He actually said he was inspired by a couple of different writers who, used punctuation in their own way to create their own style. And Cormac was not one for doing a lot of interviews, so when he sat down with Oprah Winfrey, it was quite the treat. Here is a quote from that interview where Cormac talks about the king of the run-on sentence, Mr. James Joyce. Quote, James Joyce is a good model for punctuation. He keeps it to an absolute minimum. There's no reason to blot the page up with weird little marks. I mean, if you write properly, you shouldn't have to punctuate. Sassy Cormac! He basically Marie Kondo's his writing as though it's a messy kitchen. Does this comma bring me joy? No? Discard. I said that. He probably did not know Marie Kondo. He also said, quote, I believe in periods, in capitals, in the occasional comma, and that's it. Weird little marks. I know some marks. I don't know if I'd call them weird, though. So that is the equivalent of Cormac McCarthy's desire path. No quotation marks, minimalist punctuation. Creative license, I believe they call it, or taking liberties. Point is, you can get off the long-established path of correctness.
Step off.
In order to find the desire path of your own style, to tell your story in the way that it needs to be told. Shake up the language. Do it with purpose, conviction, and knowledge. I'm talking about fiction, obviously. If you write your company's end-of-year report with no punctuation, I'd get fired. 2. Everything is said. Nothing is said. Why bother saying anything? It's nothing new. You're not original. Everything's been said by people far better at articulating and expressing it than you. This is about expressing your opinions, I guess, your point of view, using your own words to express that point of view. It's easy to parrot the words of others.
Volley want a cracker.
While you're trying to figure out what you think about things, but you should step off their path and find your own expression.
Step off.
It can be the same thought, but you have your own way of saying it. You might have to think about it before you say anything. What a bummer. Thinking. Ugh. Figure out what you've got to say and then say it in a way that is true to you. Architect your own stage. Build your own theatre so that your voice actually carries. Am I saying find your audience? Tell me what you think below. However you look at it, it sort of dovetails neatly into the everything is heard, nothing is heard section of the piece, which was the third part. And here I shall quote myself. Quote, listening minus processing and the message fails to load. Everybody speaks, but no one's listening to each other. In a sense, they're just waiting for their own chance to speak. And I guess I'm advocating for listening, active listening, this path that everyone's on of like individualism and being real shouty and drowning out other people, which is odd considering I just said you needed to learn how to use your voice. This is not about adjusting the volume.
Turn it down.
Of what you're saying. It's about altering the way that you're delivering it so that people are better receiving it, listening, actually hearing what you're saying. How do you do that? Well, I'm not really sure, but what is it they say? The medium is the message? Well, perhaps you're just using the wrong medium and you need to change the medium in order to get that message heard. Twiddle some dials, get the sound waves altered. And you need to make a better effort to actually hear what people are saying.
Listen.
Not just like listen, you need to understand, process, actually do some critical thinking. Hate to bring that into it, but so all of these things have been quite related, actually. The everything is written, nothing is written. You don't have to follow the way other people are writing. Not all the saids have been said. Figure out your point of view and articulate that verbally. All the herds have not been heard. That's H-E-A-R-D-S, not H-E-R-D-S. Although maybe you do need to approach it like hooves thundering through the Serengeti to be heard. Bigger point.
Stay on the path. You know, there's gorillas in these woods.
Speaking, listening, writing.
You see me struggling to stay on the path?
Find your own way. Step on and off established paths in order to find your direction. You're not tied to a single direction. Switch it up. Step off the path. Say something different. Write something different. Listen to something different. Which leads us to the everything is final, nothing is final. Expectations are a hell of a thing. When you're young, you're like, well, I have to go fulfill the ambitions and dreams of, if not myself, maybe my parents. Maybe you feel that, maybe you don't. Expectation is also placed on you not just by people, but by circumstance. How you grow up, where you're going to go from here. It feels like the path has been set. But is the path set? Is it possible to step off that path and follow your own desire line to wherever it is your life is going to lead you? I believe that it's not too late to change. That is not to say that it's not right to stay on some paths, that it literally is the way to what you want to achieve. But I would also say, if you're on a path, sometimes you know it's wrong. You know it doesn't feel like you're going in the right direction. If it feels really wrong, you should probably step off.
Make your own way.
You might come back to it at some point, but, swings and roundabouts, as they say. The end goal for you, if you have a goal, won't change. But how you get there does not have to be dictated by anyone, by expectation, even by yourself. Freestyle. If you're a person that needs structure, then sure, use it as a guideline, but it is a guide. Just because your favourite artist got to where they got to because they followed a specific structure doesn't mean you have to follow that same structure. Study how they did it, then figure out how you're going to do it. Because you will not be able to replicate that exact path. Life changes all around you. You won't be given the same circumstances. So you have to be adaptable. You have to have good boots on to step off that path.
Watch out.
There might be bindi eyes, which is Australian for like burrs, prickles, bindies. Life is long. The only thing that's final is that it ends. How you get to that end, that's entirely up to you. I'm perhaps wandering off the path of this video right now. And shall we get back on? Because that's another final thing, is that this has to end, thank God. Let's wrap it up. Wasn't this supposed to be about creative paths? Well, yeah, but one can't think about creative paths without thinking about life philosophy, right? I think the point that I wanted to drive home is that you have the power to set your own path. And if you're on the wrong path, you can step off it at any time. Perhaps we should think of the world as one giant campus and wander appropriately.
I'm gonna wander the streets.
Go your own way. That'll get flagged. Or to put it another way, feel free to step off any path that you did not create yourself.
I forged my own path!
Addendum. Not all desire paths are good paths. In a very real world sense, they can encourage erosion. Just think about that. Stay on the path. Get off the path. Build a path.